What is tax law?
Well, thank you very much. That's, as you rightly observed, is a broad one. But then it suffices to break it down that tax law is essentially the body of laws that govern taxation within a given territory. It's important to note territory. You don't tax from space. You don't tax, from just anywhere. You tax based on your authority, your sovereign authority over a given territory to tax. So the body of laws that regulate who may be taxed, what may be taxed, what activity may be taxed, or at what rate is what you could call the tax law.
Fantastic. So when I was talking about the CIT, I mentioned that it is the profit that is taxed.
Yes.
That's the income.
Yes.
So who is taxed then?
Well,
as regards businesses.
Yes. For every tax, you have the tax base and then the tax rate. Okay.
What's that now?
So for the base is the activity or the idea behind that tax. For example, there are income taxes, companies income tax, personal income tax. For both taxes, the base is the income, right? Okay, so, and then there is the rate. So who is taxed in this connection is companies within the meaning of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, including companies that are not registered in Nigeria, but that do business in Nigeria. Yes.
Fantastic.
They are taxed under the Companies Income Tax Act.
So how are businesses taxed then? I'm talking about small and large businesses. How are they taxed?
Well, talking about how businesses are taxed, you may want to look at the way the nation itself is organized constitutionally. We're supposed to be a federation, or a federation we are.
Yeah,
right?
we are. I mean, you said we are supposed to...
Subject to continuous improvement.
Yeah, but we are a federation.
We are a federation, okay? So to that extent, you have the national laws, then you have the subnational laws. Subnational laws, like the laws of the states, the bylaws of the local government councils. So most of the taxation legislation in Nigeria is federal. Most. You can say up to 90% of the taxation legislation in Nigeria is federal. Be it Companies Income Tax Act, Personal Income Tax Act, Education Tax Act, the Industrial Training Fund Act, the NSITF Act, the Petroleum Profits Tax Act, or just all of it, the Stamp Duties Act, Capital Gains Tax Act, all of them are federal acts. Okay? So then when you come down to the states, a state like Lagos, for example, has what you call the land use charge law. The land use charge law, which through which Lagos State has sought to consolidate a few taxes and levies that were there before now. That's one of the laws that govern tax within the context of the states, as a subnational entity, as a subnational authority. Then also, there is this law that was passed during the time of Governor Fashola, the hotel and restaurants and hotel occupancy tax laws, which is basically a consumption tax, which is why when you go to any major restaurant, after, when you have your receipt, your bill, there's a portion there, that apart from VAT, there's another tax that you get there. That one goes straight to Lagos State government. Okay, so as to how
businesses
are taxed, there's a whole big gamut of taxes that businesses are liable to. The first is what you have said, the Companies Income Tax Act. Of course, that presupposes that a company has made profit. If you have declared a loss, you're not going to pay tax. But then you have to convince the taxman that that the loss you have declared is for real and not a sham. The taxman by nature is trained to disbelieve and to doubt the taxpayer.
Why is that?
No, because we're all human beings. Everyone has a duty of honesty in their declarations. And then how many of us are that honest?
Well, you'll be
so the governments around the world, don't take it from taxpayers that I did not make profit. They want to see for themselves that you did not make profit. Or even that the profit that you have declared is true and not more than you have declared. Because it is on the profit that the tax rate would apply after all the deductions and allowances have been made. Okay? So the tax authorities want to be sure that the expenses that you have incurred before declaring the profit are permitted, are allowed.
There are people who watch out for favorable tax environments, right?
Yes.
Explain that to us.
Well, of course, no businessman would like to wipe out their capital on taxes and levies and expenditures. Okay, so they want to retain a decent quantum of capital for the purposes of their investment to turn it over. So one of the things that investors globally look for is a favorable tax environment. But even that one, there has been some international movement to curb that, especially with the work of an organization called the OECD. Its work on what is called BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. Okay, so they've come up with the concept of harmful tax competition. I've always been skeptical of that myself. It's a matter of sovereignty. Some jurisdictions, by jurisdiction I mean countries, used to be known as tax havens, in the sense that they did not really tax income. They only taxed consumption. So those places where you go for tourism, holidays, vacations, and all of that, as you spend money to book a hotel, as you spend money to book a boat ride, to go mountaineering or hiking, there are taxes along the way, which you don't feel because those are not direct taxes, they are indirect taxes. Okay? But the OECD has tried to roll that back, basically to try to corral everybody into the same manner of taxation. Okay? So, in terms of favorable tax environment, yes, investors try to check out jurisdictions where, even if the rate is not so small, but then administrative efficiencies. Not that you have tax to pay, and then you also have to queue in long lines to pay the tax. It is bad enough that you want to pay money. Then how much worse it is that you have to, go through a whole lot of trouble to try to pay the money, right? So favorability also now extends to administrative efficiency, right? So the Nigeria's FIRS, how does it compare with the US IRS? How does it compare with the UK's HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs? How does it compare with other tax management authorities? So that is also a form of competition, which I'm sure has informed the FIRS's continuous improvement efforts.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
now
yes.
that we are exploring this angle, how about cases of a multiplicity of taxes?
Multiplicity of taxes. That has been a perennial problem. You know, there has always been that protest, and this you see within the context of the federal arrangement also. So you pay tax to the federal government, then the state comes, then the local government comes also. You know, so there have been efforts to eliminate multiplicity of taxes. But then multiplicity of taxes is not the same as duplication or duplicity of taxes. Good. In the sense that you are taxing the same base over and over again. Okay? So the government, for example, on profit, just on profit, government is taxing the profit with education tax, with income tax, and what is called information technology tax, which is collected which is charged under the NITDA Act, right? Okay, so that complaint has always been there, and government has also tried from time to time to assuage people and allay their fears that they will, do all within their power to make the tax burden as bearable as possible. Yes.
Now, one of the things Alfredo also talked about is that businesses should always be at par with taxation trends. It's important for people to know what we're talking about, especially yes. business owners, right?
Yes, most definitely. Of course, one of the ways that a business owner must show that they are ready for the game, that they are match fit, if I could put it that way, is that they know not only the law regulating their line of business, but also that they know what taxes they are bound to pay. And then do a bit of tax planning, retain taxation professionals to advise on how you must go about your taxes. Because tax is like, someone said tax is just like death.
Oh, really?
It's a matter of time.
Okay.
It's a matter of time. The tax man will come, just like death will come.
Wow, that's a bizarre analogy.
Yes, so you have to get ready for the tax man.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, so now that we're wrapping up, does businesses just pay taxes or are there benefits?
Well, when you taxation is a matter of obligation. When you pay tax, you're not notionally doing the government a favor. You are performing a duty. So great is the duty to pay tax that failure to pay or refusal to pay is a crime, punishable by fines and by imprisonment, right? Okay, so, but government tries to make the case, that taxation is for the benefit of all. The central governing principle around taxation is that government wants to be able to redistribute the wealth, the wealth of the nation. The wealth of the nation, right? So government would like to redistribute it from those who have, not necessarily from those who have to those who don't have, but to make sure that everyone has some minimum level of amenity. For example, building of roads, bridges, water, dams, and all of that. Government is supposed to do all of that using tax revenue.
Fantastic.
But even at that, that has been, the jury is still out, whether the Nigerian case, meets this mold. Because you see, in many cases, companies are forced, compelled, indirectly, to fix the roads that lead to their factories. Okay? And then provide their own, most importantly, provide security. Okay? So provide their own security, provide their own power, and all of that. Although the government of President Buhari tried to formalize some of that arrangement by doing the tax for infrastructure scheme, where companies were allowed to build roads and then claim the refund through income tax. Okay, so that's where you saw companies like the Dangote and some of the other large taxpayers. You have to be a large taxpayer to try to construct road in exchange for tax. Okay, so government tried to do that. Of course, that principally recognized the fact that government is failing to live up to its billing, to the reason for which it is collecting tax.
Exactly, which is where I'm trying to drive you to.
Yes.
For example, you said the obligation, the onus lies on the taxpayer to pay tax because it's your duty.
Yes.
But also, government must provide some amenities.
Yes.
Because you're collecting tax. For example, if I have a business that is largely based on power, I expect, and I pay my tax.
Yes.
I expect stable power supply, right?
Yes. That is not too much to ask for at all. That is basic. That is what many businesses abroad take for granted, but for which Nigerian businesses have to make elaborate preparations by way of extra investment. At some point, one of the CEOs of the telecom company said, look, I am more of a power company than a telecom company.
Really?
Yes, because he counted the number of generators in his control. If you go to each of the base sites and cell sites of all the telecom companies, you see generators, sometimes two, sometimes 17 kVA, 27 kVA generators, 2 units running. Because those sites must be up and running for you to be able to take your calls, send your messages, and stream your programs. Okay? So, and by the time you aggregate that, you will see, for example, that an MTN is not only a telecom company, it's also a power company. Because it is generating a whole lot of power to be able to run its business. And Airtel out there, it's not only a telecom company, it's also a power company. These are the anomalies, with which companies in Nigeria have to deal, okay? So those are some of the constraints that businesses fail. But well, adversity, proves your mettle.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
How did I say it again? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Of invention, yes.
So as we wrap this up, though, what would you like to see as regards taxation on businesses in Nigeria?
Well, I think it's a case of continuous improvement. The government should continually remember that the people, require its services. There are some things that the citizens cannot do for themselves. Security. Companies are spending so much on security, right? In many cases, paying government agencies too to provide extra security that should have been taken care of, as a tax-paying organization. You should get that benefit from government. Okay, so government should step up, and then simplify the tax laws and make administration more efficient, and then also remunerate the taxmen. I use that word generically. Remunerate them adequately so that they can be above board, such that government can get all the revenue that is due it.